My wife is always accusing me of lecturing while I'm trying to make a point. She also tells me not to point my finger as I'm making that point. Well, tonight, as I point to the bottom line of my real estate tax that arrived in the mail, I cannot help but slip into my imaginary plaid jacket with the elbow patches, grab a piece of chalk, and begin scribbling on the likewise imaginary blackboard that stands in my living room lecture hall. And the subject of today's lecture, well, class, it's about money, the money cycle, or the money circle, whichever you prefer, and how it rotates through your life if you were an average Joe like me. When Rosemary and I were married back in 1967, my first job out of college paid me $90 a week. Rosemary, as a nurse, brought home $11 more. I used to go to the A&P supermarket every weekend with a grocery budget of $14. Can you imagine that today? It took us 10 years before we accumulated enough money to put down on a house and actually have our hands on a mortgage. We still do. We had young kids and job commutes and 2 car payments and all that usual stuff that folks like I have. It took us, I'd say probably another 15 years or so before I felt what I call comfortable about my income serving our needs and having some left over for an IRA contribution. We were not living in the lap of luxury by any means, but we were okay as long as we didn't go nuts with the credit cards and some huge impacting disaster didn't come our way. Then, once we became empty nesters, we really were able to devote a lot more attention to that retirement fund. By then, we realized we better start stoking away as much as we could because the Social Security checks that we'd be getting just wouldn't do it. Next comes the retirement cycle itself. The greatest joy retirement has to offer is a sound one. Literally, it's not having that damn alarm clock buzzing away every morning. And correspondingly, the worst element of retirement is not having that damn paycheck coming in. So it seems, based on my personal worldly experience of economics, there exists a money cycle for families like mine, and it goes like this. As a young adult, you struggle with bills and you live paycheck to paycheck. Unexpected bills present a formidable challenge, and things like dental appointments don't exist unless there's pain. As you establish a family and you work harder, and with growing skills and some luck, your income grows. This is the next cycle. You earn more during this cycle, and finally you're able to keep up with the bills. Maybe just barely, but you're keeping up. You may even get some money to go on vacation with the family at the beach for the summer. What the hey? You will probably devote a little more time to the dentist, too, since the teeth that you neglected the past decade are beginning to fall out of your mouth. Meanwhile, you're constantly on the prowl for greater opportunities because now represents your prime time for upward mobility. Then eventually you reach retirement. Don't expect a gold watch or a big party. Most big companies don't do that anymore, nor do they have a pension waiting for you. They may provide a box in which you can pack up your personal things as someone representing the company stands in the corner of your office and observes to make sure that you don't steal the stapler. Then you go drive that last commute home for the final time, and guess what? The money cycle now reverts back to exactly the same role it played when you started this whole thing. Once again, you struggle with bills as you live Social Security check to Social Security check. You hope those funds you stashed away in your IRA and 401k are enough to handle the overflow, especially if you wind up with catastrophic health issues. Don't look to be standing on the edge of that big rock from the closing scene of Lion King, holding up the next generation lion cub and singing Hakuna Matata. No, for many people, their lives went in the right directions because they were talented and they worked hard, or not, and they still managed to compile a comfortable stash to see them through their so-called golden years. But for those who, like me, worked hard, had some great opportunities, and accumulated some wonderful friendships along the way, well, the piggy bank was never really stuffed that much. So if you're among that group, here comes the main point of my lecture. I'm scribbling it on the blackboard. Even if it's only $1 a week in a jar, start as young as you can to accumulate money for your retirement. Trust me, it'll be here a lot sooner than you think. I'm Mark Kuhn. Thanks for listening.